What is your name?
6.
Six.
6394 TGOM.
Tell me about your life, Six. You grew up where?
Growing up is a hard question to answer because after birth, I was the custodial ping pong between the orphanage and like my biological, and then after that, I got adopted, but I was only with them for a few years before I got busted. So,
Where was your mom when you were born?
I believe she was in the women's correctional facility. So, my birth name is actually Jaquilia Johnson Alexander. I was born as an Alexander, and my mom didn't know if she was having a boy or a girl, and then I came into this world and was put into like a temporary, I think like foster home or something until she got out of jail that time. And then fucking me and my sisters, actually. That's the only time me and my sisters went to the same place. And then she came back and I lived with her for a second.
How was your childhood in general?
I mean, it's cool.
You had no dad?
I have a dad. Yeah. I just didn't get to meet him until I was like 18. My mom was scared that I have so many sisters because my mom only wanted a boy, but she kept pushing out females. So fucking when she finally had a son, I think her biggest fear was that me and my dad would have a stronger bond than me and her. So she told me he had died before I was born and just left from wherever he was, where they met, and made a home base down here in Los Angeles. Yeah.
What kind of teenager were you?
What kind of teenager was I? I was the type of teenager that fucking watched my favorite movie and would see whatever character from that film was like the cool persona and emulate that to my best ability in my lifestyle until it was pretty much what I was seen as. And I think I'm a pretty good actor.
Is it all just an act?
No, never. There's a lot of genuine moments that come from everything in life with me because I've always had an eye for beauty, and I've always had a desire for more when it comes to relationships with people. Because I didn't get to grow up with any of my family, which sucked. And then after reconnecting with my family, when I finally was forfeited to the system entirely, they weren't really as excited as I was to see each other, so that sucked too. So there's always been like this unsatisfied pursuit of that, whatever that is, that people have with family when they have family and shit.
How old are you now?
30.
30.
Yeah.
And do you have any contact with your family now?
It's hit or miss. I mean, fuck, right now, the dynamic between me and my family is fucked up. My dad is under the impression that I'm dead because when I started doing fentanyl, I couldn't do anything else as far as like staying in contact with people I loved because I was just so like ashamed or embarrassed or like not ready to explain what the fuck was going on. Because I went from total normalcy to fucking like the epitome of homelessness and bum, you know?
Were you living on the streets here?
During fentanyl? Of course.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It's hard not to.
At first I had my spot. I had my spot for like 4.5 years. It was a condo in Tarzana. Shouts out fucking Legend Empire. Shouts out Sunny Orchard one time. That's how I financed my life after I got my label deal and shit. And it was cool, you know? And I started selling dope. I had like fucking 2 bricks of Fetty every 2 weeks that was going out my front door. And that was enough to make sure that me and my girlfriend could smoke and still have enough money. And somehow I still needed a front by the end of the week. But it's neither here nor there. Yeah, Yeah, I had a place, and then I got evicted last year in December, and I've been on the streets since then. But being on the streets, like as a addict, opposed to just being on the streets, are two huge different things. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you using? Are you still using?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the reason I came out here right now. Besides to see you, of course. So.
Where are you staying now?
Right now I live in MacArthur. It's a cool little spot, adjacent to 6th and Alvarado. Great social area. Good.
It's like another. It's like Skid Row.
Transit hub.
Annex, basically.
Yeah, it's a hub. It's one of those hubs for individuals that are looking to do business or make exchanges for all those things that you can't buy at Target, Walmart, or Walgreens. But yeah, before this, I was at I had a condo in Tarzana. I had a studio in Burbank, and then on Lake. And then on Lake Street, and then I had my own car and shit. I'm used to having my own things. So being in the streets, I'm kind of like a pompous asshole because like I don't really. I was homeless before I got signed to the record deal, and I wore it well because I was only doing speed at the time. And then I got signed, had money, bought my own shit. So it was kind of like when I went back to the streets, it's like, oh well, I've been here before. This ain't no new shit to me, you know. And everybody who knew me actually at the park and in the streets knew me as well prior to being homeless. So they're like, what the fuck? You know, like, what the fuck are you doing out here? Type shit. It's like you get different treatment when you come with a little bit of a background that indicates that you may be someone that they can utilize for like assistance or fucking, you know, to their benefit financially. But yeah.
And you have kids or like a girlfriend, wife, anything like that?
I have a girlfriend. I have 3 girlfriends. They all know about each other. I try to live my life polyamorously as fuck. And I have a daughter. She's 10. And she's a Scorpio. Her birthday's November 7th.
What's the downside of being polyamorous and having 3 girlfriends?
I can't see one. It doesn't suck. There's no part about it whatsoever that's unfortunate, except for maybe I haven't come to a place where I have to break up with any of them. We've all been together for like maybe 4 years. So when we finally do break up, or if I only want to leave one and not like all of them at the same time, I could imagine that might be like a little bit of a hard thing because they know each other and they like each other as well. So
there's no drama.
Oh, there's drama, but it's not like end all be all drama. You know, it's just like attitude and fucking personal hang-ups and shit about priority or fucking the authenticity of how interested I truly am in one opposed to the other, which I'm sure they've learned over time. Like I care about all of them equally, you know. It's cool.
There's no competition between them?
Hell yeah. And I hate that shit, dude. There's no need to be competitive, like, you know. If I didn't want one of you here, I wouldn't have you here to begin with. So I'm just kind of that way though. I'm one of those people where like I think I was talking to somebody the other day about communal service and like giving back to society, and we were talking about how fucking when you meet someone who is when you meet someone, you know, being able to give to them or not or whatever, being able to contribute as almost like a charitable factor. Who do you choose, you know, between like the people out in the world? And I was like, my answer was like, well, I could choose everybody. It doesn't matter who they are. Like I'm able to, once I give my heart to an idea, it's encompassing everything under that category. So if the idea is giving, I'm going to give to everything that I can give to, not just to like, oh, well, this guy because he looks a certain way, or this girl because she seems a certain way. I don't care if you're retarded or if you're a fucking asshole or if you're a repeat offender. I'm still going to be able to give you the same amount of my heart as I would give my wife or I would give my daughter, you know, just because it's human nature.
What do you bring to the relationship?
The relationship with the women?
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I'm dad. You know? So everything. I bring money, I bring dope, I bring fucking shelter, I bring transportation, I bring organization for their lives so that they're not just like dumb.
Are they using as well?
They are. And two of them are individuals that have been using prior to being with me, and then one of them is someone that I was with before I met the other two, and she was sober when we met, and now she's not, and she would like to be again, and that's kind of something that I think that we're working towards or whatever. But yeah.
And being on the streets and using fentanyl now,
Yeah.
that makes music a second priority.
It makes music not even existent.
Yeah.
Fentanyl does something that's very interesting, which I had an idea about making some sort of publication in regards to just one specific message I wanted to convey, which is the fact that when I was a kid and I grew up, my understanding of drugs was just like, drugs are bad, don't do drugs. There was never an explanation really why. It was just, drugs are bad, they'll ruin your life, and this is how it looks. And they show you these pictures of people and shit. They don't ever go into detail and really get into the explanation that drugs are a product that was chemically designed to get a specific response from your brain that is one of satisfaction and pleasure, no matter who you are. So it's not based on personality type, whether or not you'll be an addict. I was always taught something of that nature because of like alcoholism. They'll say, oh, it's in your family or whatever. But drugs, it doesn't matter who the fuck you are. It doesn't matter how smart you are or how much self-discipline you have. When you do a drug that is chemically designed to release a chemical reaction from your brain, that's what it's going to do, causing the desire to want more. And that's what addiction is. It's like a trick, you know? And I wasn't expecting that to be the outcome of my experimentation with fentanyl, because fentanyl is the only drug I've ever done I couldn't get off of. So, slightly depressing, but truth.
How many years has it been?
I'm 30 now. I started when I was 24. Yeah.
Those are some prime years that you're
So you're telling me?
giving away.
I was, I've had some amazing things happen in my life, dude, that are all just signs of like, this is who you are. This is who you're supposed to be. If you ever thought that maybe you were wrong, you're not. You know, I've been playing piano, guitar, and violin since I was 4 years old. So that's like 26 years now that I'm 30. We can say 16 years because I've done 11 years behind bars. So despite the time that was taken away by the system, all my life I've done music, and I know music so well it's retarded inside and out, you know. And this is the only thing I think that could have ever came across my path that would ruin me, basically. And people always tell me like, well, you still look great. There's still a chance for you. You have an amazing opportunity to be someone. You should go ahead and do it. It's like, bitch, I would love to. I would love to see the look on the A&R's faces and my public relations task team face when I'm fucking at the office sleeping on top of a list of paperwork every 5 seconds when I'm just supposed to be a 15-minute quick show up and sign and leave, you know? It's not reality. It's not. I have a friend that's, he's the son of Rick James, and he's in my circle of drug users. Excuse me. And his name is Taz. Oh. And he has like this fucking $2 million house with this Bentley and a fucking i8 and the R8 and all these different fucking cars and shit. And he drives around smoking crack and smoking Fetty. I'm just like, fuck, man, you know. But that he was born into that shit, you know. when you start out as just somebody
You
who
probably
is
put that on his Cheerios.
when you're born as somebody who's just a regular guy trying to get to that peak, you know, it's not the same. And all due respects, you know, I just wish that I really wish I had the balls to fucking get off of this shit just for long enough to go get what is mine, you know, and do that. I had a Netflix series that was a show basically about myself giving back to society as an artist through charity. It was called Who is Daniel James? And Daniel James is actually my manager, and he's a fashion designer. And so one day we got high on shrooms, him and I, and came up with the idea. We should do a show where we just get all these celebrities and fucking have them give back through charity and make giving back cool enough to where maybe like it'll spark some sort of, you know, agenda or trending theme that it's what's up to do. And we can get normal people to give back just by showing how little it takes to organize a 501c3 and get gifting partnerships with different companies and conglomerates and fucking auction off bullshit and fucking send it to wherever you think your heart is, you know? And we did that, and then I filmed all of season 1, 9 episodes, and then fucking I think on the first episode of season 2 is when I first started Fentanyl, and not a single person from my label has heard from me since. So, yeah, it's been a huge dropout.
Yeah, drugs are tricky to be around.
Yeah, well, it sucks. It's a lot of insecurity, which is something I've never dealt with before.
Is there any fear of success? Because you seem to be on the verge of some kind of success.
I don't know. I don't know. I would love to say no to that confidently, but I don't know. Because last time I almost died, every time that I almost die, there's some sort of God-like thing that comes and is like there, present, and there may be some sort of exchange. Most recently there was one, and it was whatever was there to be present during that circumstance. And as I'm like gasping for breath or trying to gasp for breath but can't, and like getting closer and closer to that cutoff period where just like my brain was going to shut off, one of the things that I said was, oh shit, am I gonna fucking die? And the God thing was like, you might. And I said, am I gonna go to heaven? And it said, I don't know, what have you done to deserve that? And at that moment I knew I wasn't, you know, obviously. And I was like, fuck. You know, nothing. And so I think the reason I started talking about this was because, what was the question that you asked me?
Well, I was about to ask, the 11 years you did in prison, what were they for?
All bullshit. All bullshit. I have 2 violent strikes, and I'm on parole, and I'm also absconding, and I've never checked into probation or parole once since the start of my career. And I think the first time I got hemmed up actually was not bullshit. It was vehicular manslaughter without malice with great negligence. And that was for a rollover accident that happened in Orange County.
Someone died?
Absolutely. And then...
Was that on purpose? You did your time.
Yeah, I did my time. And then I did 5 years basically for that, 4 years, 9 months.
Was it on purpose?
It wasn't a purposeful act. It wasn't an act that I really had any control over, you know, as a child. So the stuff we do as kids, it's not like we do it because we know what we're doing. It's just we do it because we think that's what is supposed to make sense in our minds that are so small and undeveloped that it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. If there's no one there to tell you that it's not making sense, then you don't know. So I can't take responsibility for that. After that, I think I got busted again for unlawful discharge of a firearm and some shit about a shootout with a frat house up in Chico. And I got fucking criminal threats and fucking attempted, that they dropped down to just conspiracy and GBI. I did another 3 years, 9 months on that. And then I did 2 years on a fucking, what was the most recent charge? I did 2 on, that was some bullshit as well. Either way, it doesn't matter. My point is that I've never hurt anybody besides the guy that I killed, which as a child, if I could take back those moments, obviously it ruined my whole childhood. I was fucking 13 years old. And I didn't see the light of day again until I was 19. So like, what the fuck? You know, obviously I didn't want to lose that. I didn't know how to fucking get a job, get a license, get an ID. Fucking, I didn't go to prom. I didn't even lose my fucking virginity. So no, like, you know, I wasn't a gang member. I was just somebody emotionally distraught and caught up in a relationship and dealing with things that were above my threshold at the time to be able to cope with. I had a pregnant girlfriend and a guy that she was seeing and fucking all sorts of shit going on. And it was only in the second week of freshman year, high school. So, that shit happened. I lost my mom in the process. I lost my dad. I lost my grandma. I lost my dog. You go to jail for that long and you come out and you expect people to still be alive. They're not.
How did those 11 years where you were locked up change you?
Taught me a lot of patience and a lot of peace and a lot of self-relation to where I can basically endure any situation at this point without being lost whatsoever, spiritually or mentally. My mental strength is amazing. You know, I used to swim like 6 miles every 2 weeks, and I would jog like 40 miles maybe every week or two. And I lived most of my life on the beach growing up. My adopted family was from San Clemente, California. You know, I went to high school with like fucking Ryan Sheckler, and like Greg Long's mom was my fucking second grade teacher and shit. He's like a champion fucking big wave surfer for Billabong. And all these people kind of know me. When I first got out after being busted, I went on this field trip because I was trying to get the credits so I could at least get my GED from high school. And one of the parts of the graduate program was that I had to go on a field trip to like the Museum of Tolerance. And there's this lady, I'll never forget. And she was leading our group, and she's like, gets wind from one of the other people there who happens to be someone from my city that knows me, that I play piano and all this shit. Long story short, she gives me a personal, she's on the chair of administration and the board of advisory for the Ray Charles Foundation. And she ends up giving me a tour of the Ray Charles Museum, which is a place that's basically like the office that he would stay at, with all of his clothes and shit, and like a bunch of braille paperwork on the desk, and then the studio he recorded in. And it was like crazy because like when I got there, obviously I had like no restraint and like this bad impulse control fucking teenager kid. And I saw the piano, I just started playing it, and like fucking 5 minutes later, like all the people that used to be on tour with him, like his saxophone player and stuff, that I look up and they're like all standing at the door crying and shit. They're like, this is the first time we heard music come out this room since Ray died. And it was just like mind blowing, like, you know, and they're like, if you want to record an album here, you're more than welcome to. Diana Treaster was her name. Diana Treaster was the lady that was on the board of administration for the Ray Charles Foundation. And she was actually the treasury. So I think that means she owned all the money and stuff. And she was such a small little old Jewish lady that had all this love for me to succeed like all these other people do when they meet me. And fucking things like that have always happened in my life where I end up in a place and I'm with like someone who's like fucking a huge mogul, you know, like Kendrick Lamar or like fucking Ash Riser, rest in peace, and fucking all these different cats from Hollywood that I just like bump shoulders with, get into a situation somehow through, and then fucking it ends up being my introductory into a situation that's amazing. My whole life has always been this weird place where like there's rumor of opportunity and I get told like this path of plan, like, you know, direction for what we're gonna do, and then right before it happens it just gets like shat on and shat on and shat on. And then it's to the point where basically as a kid, by the time that I was able to develop and generate my own perspective on things, I fucking I came to the conclusion that like anytime I heard about something good that could happen to me, I didn't believe it. Not because I just thought that people were full of shit, but I knew that it would get destroyed before I ever got the chance to fulfill it, you know? And that really is something I wish didn't happen, because the energy of that understanding, you know, became its own entity, and it took life and it took strength over basically everything, to the point where now I have very little faith that good things can still happen for me, no matter how talented or fucking devoted or sober or dedicated I become to something, you know?
Yeah, but I think that's a fear of success.
Call it that if you want to.
Yeah, I think.
I just call it fucking, I mean, it's common sense. When the repetition takes place so many times, what else are you supposed to believe besides the act of that pattern, you know? Same thing like with a girl. She calls you, she tells you da-da-da, you get excited, you go see her, and when you get there, her mood is like, oh, da-da-da, and you're like, oh, this bitch is playing me. She doesn't really like me, she just wants me to come pick her up and drive her somewhere, and now it's all fucked up, and fuck this, I'm dropping her off. And then you go a couple days without talking to anybody, and then you get a call, and who is it? It's her. And you're kind of like, oh, that's cool. Talk to her. Oh, okay. Yeah, but not like last time. Well, same thing occurs, okay? How many times are you going to allow that to happen before you're like, fuck that bitch?
Once or twice, and then you're done.
That's exactly how I feel about things that sound any more abnormal than just wake up, get high, and go to sleep.
It seems a shame that you're not doing what you're probably designed to do, meant to do.
Yeah, it sucks. It's like withdrawals. I haven't played a piano, dog, in fucking months, and it's like to the point where I'm like I think about it and I get sad, and I have to take a moment and be like, you know, whatever, it's cool, just like fucking go do something else. The same way like probably a professional sports person feels when they go to jail, or like a pro skater when they fucking have a broken foot, you know? I'm yearning for the opportunity to create, to the point where like just having a room with a computer and speakers would be like fucking enough for me to be happy. But it's like, it's out there, it's a concept, and I don't know if that's a consequence for squandering opportunity previously, or if it's like this is what happens, you know, to people when they get high or whatever. But I know so many people that fucking have all that shit and they get high, you know? So I don't know what it is, but at this point I know one thing that doesn't fail, and that's getting together $50 and going and seeing the plug and getting some dope. That every time is guaranteed to work out perfectly fine.
That's sad.
Yeah. So if anybody out there that recognizes this guy is wondering what's going on, now you know.
What's your biggest regret? other than the guy that you drove over?
I didn't run anyone over, by the way. My passenger went out the sunroof.
Oh, I see.
And besides that, it's probably starting fentanyl. Obviously. I never did heroin or shit like that before this, so I didn't know what withdrawals were like.
Did it take just one time, or did you start using and then it built into an addiction?
Built into an addiction, just like everything.
It felt good first time?
Still feels good every time.
It does.
No idea what it was. I just knew it was a word. I didn't get what they were saying. It's fentanyl. It's what? Fentanyl. What the fuck is that? It's fentanyl. You can't smoke it. Alright, sure. You know, I'll get my hands on it one way or another. And then I got some and I smoked it, and it was like, you don't believe it for the first week because you just black out every time you hit it, and you wake up to people fucking doing weird shit like shoving stuff up your nose and fucking spraying water on you. And then finally one day you smoke it and you don't die, and you are in this place where you're like, oh, for sure. Like, is this what heroin was like? They're like, yeah, but this is way better. They're like, don't trip out. For sure. And I actually left the fucking little tweaky trap house in Koreatown and got on the bus, or got on the train when everyone was asleep. And my friend called me. He's all, hey, where are you? And I was like, oh, I was going to go see my friend, see my mom, getting ready to head to the airport. And he's like, yeah? I was like, yeah, dude, I think I have food poisoning. I'm like, I feel kind of sick or weird. And he's like, yeah, that's what's going on. I was like, I'm about to throw up. I need to call you back in a second. He's all, no, stay on the phone. So I stay on the phone with him. I throw up in the train. And I'm on the fucking gold line to Azusa to get to some green line or something so I could go to John Wayne, or LAX, my bad. And I'm telling him, I'm like, oh, I'm throwing up, dude, and I feel fucking sick. I gotta go. He's like, let me tell you something. Your best bet is to make it back here as soon as you can, because you're not going through food poisoning. You're experiencing withdrawals. And I was like, I'm experiencing what? He's like, trust me, just get here as soon as you can. I'll have some dope for you when you arrive. And I followed his instruction, and literally all the sweat and like fucking discomfort like reversed and like went backwards up my forehead into my skin, you know? And everything was just like, I was like, oh shit, what the fuck? It's like, yeah, those are called withdrawals. Anytime you get that far out of bounds, that's what you're going to experience. I was like, for the rest of my life? You know, like, what the fuck? I've quit fentanyl 8 times, cold turkey.
Really?
Unfortunately for me, I didn't know that each time it gets worse. So now I'm trying to put together some sort of like escape plan or escape route to get off of dope, but until then it's just a work in progress. Yep. Shouts out Daniel James. Shouts out Legend Empire, Sony Orchard, Polo Molina. Thank you guys for being a part of my life. Sorry you thought I was dead. I didn't fake my death. I just disappeared into the silence. But I love all of you. And here I am.
All right, Six. Thank you very much.
Likewise.